The Galactic Council, an alliance of countless alien species spanning the vast expanse of the cosmos, was regarded by many as the beacon of unity and cooperation in the galaxy. Its impressive seat of power, the Citadel, resided in the heart of the Milky Way, where diplomatic envoys from member worlds convened to discuss matters of galactic importance. However, the public facade of the Galactic Council concealed a dark secret, one that would soon ignite the flames of humanity's righteous fury. Deep within the restricted sectors of the Citadel, a sinister program operated in the shadows. This program, known only as the Renewal Initiative, was a covert operation sanctioned by the Council's highest echelons. Its true purpose was the systematic extraction and exploitation of children from across the member planets. Under the guise of cultural exchange and educational opportunities, young beings were lured to the Citadel, only to be subjected to horrific experimentation and training. The children, some as young as 5 solar cycles, were forced to undergo arduous physical and mental conditioning, their innocence stripped away with each passing day. The experiments conducted upon these helpless victims were beyond the comprehension of any compassionate mind. Drugs that enhanced cognitive abilities, cybernetic implants that granted superhuman reflexes, and neural programming that erased all trace of free will. These were just a few of the twisted methods employed by the Renewal Initiative scientists. The ultimate goal of this abhorrent program was to create an army of child soldiers, docile, obedient, and devoid of any moral constraints. These renewal troopers would serve as the Galactic Council's elite enforcers, crushing any dissent or resistance with ruthless efficiency. For cycles, this atrocity continued unabated, the cries of the children echoing through the sterile halls of the Citadel, their pleas for help falling on deaf ears. The Galactic Council, blinded by its own lust for power and control, turned a blind eye to the suffering of the very beings it claimed to protect. Until one fateful day when the veil of secrecy was finally lifted. It began with a whistleblower, a member of the Renewal Initiative's support staff, who could no longer stomach the horrors they witnessed. This courageous individual, at great personal risk, managed to smuggle out damning evidence of the Citadel's dark deeds, video recordings, medical logs, and first-hand accounts of the children's mistreatment. The whistleblower's actions set off a chain reaction that would reverberate through the galaxy. The footage and documents were swiftly disseminated across interstellar communication networks, reaching the ears of diplomats and leaders from various member worlds, including the representatives of a small, yet influential, species known as humans. When the human diplomats viewed the disturbing evidence, their reactions were immediate and visceral. Shock, outrage, and a deep sense of anguish washed over them, igniting a fire within their hearts that had long been dormant. For the humans, the exploitation and abuse of children was a transgression so abhorrent that it stirred the very depths of their protective instincts. The human representatives, led by the impassioned Ambassador Evelyn Sinclair, demanded an emergency session of the Galactic Council. In the grand chambers of the Citadel, Sinclair stood before the gathered alien delegates, her voice trembling with rage as she unveiled the shocking revelations. "This council has betrayed the very principles upon which it was founded," Sinclair exclaimed, her words cutting through the stunned silence. "The Renewal Initiative is an abomination, a crime against the innocent lives you have sworn to safeguard." The other delegates, many of whom had been unaware of the Renewal Initiative's existence, were horrified and outraged by Sinclair's accusations. Cries of disbelief and demands for an investigation echoed through the chamber, but the human ambassador refused to be silenced. "You will end this program immediately and bring those responsible to justice," Sinclair declared, her steely gaze sweeping across the assembled alien faces. "If you fail to do so, then know this. Humanity will not rest until the Galactic Council's atrocities against our children have been avenged." With those final words, Sinclair turned and strode from the chamber, leaving the Galactic Council in a state of stunned silence. The seeds of a conflict had been sown, one that would soon erupt with a vengeance that none could have predicted. The revelation of the Galactic Council's renewal initiative and its horrific treatment of children sent shockwaves through the human diplomatic corps. Ambassador Evelyn Sinclair's impassioned plea before the council chamber had ignited a fire within the hearts of her fellow human representatives, a fire that quickly spread throughout the human population. Back on Earth, the news of the Citadel's atrocities was met with an outpouring of grief, rage, and a deep, unrelenting sense of injustice. Across the globe, people took to the streets, staging massive protests and demanding immediate action from their political leaders. "How dare they?" cried Sofia Hernandez, a mother of two, her eyes brimming with tears. "Those poor children, torn from their families and subjected to unspeakable cruelty. We cannot let this stand." The sentiment echoed through the crowds, fueling a growing sense of collective outrage. Vigils were held, candlelight vigils where people gathered to mourn the victims of the renewal initiative and express their solidarity with the abused children. In the halls of power, human leaders scrambled to respond to the crisis. Urgent meetings were convened, strategies were debated, and condemnations were issued. But the public clamored for more. They demanded vengeance, a reckoning that would hold the Galactic Council accountable for its actions. "This is a line that cannot be crossed," declared President Kenji Tanaka during a televised address. "The exploitation and abuse of children is a violation of the most fundamental human values. As the leader of this nation, I can assure you that we will exhaust every diplomatic avenue to seek justice. But if the Galactic Council refuses to heed our demands, then we will be forced to take matters into our own hands." Tanaka's words resonated with the people, igniting a renewed sense of purpose and determination. Across the human colonies scattered throughout the solar system, a small but dedicated group of individuals began to quietly mobilize, driven by a singular goal: to deliver retribution against the Galactic Council and its renewal initiative. These individuals, drawn from the ranks of military veterans, scientific researchers, and covert operatives, formed a clandestine network, their identities and actions shrouded in secrecy. They called themselves the Avengers, a name that evoked both the righteous fury of their cause and the unwavering resolve to see it through. Led by a former Special Forces commander, Sergeant Major Lucas Farrell, the Avengers set to work, meticulously planning their course of action. They gathered intelligence, acquired advanced technology, and established a network of safe houses and hideaways, all in preparation for the day when they would strike back against the Galactic Council. As the weeks passed, the Avengers cautiously recruited more members, carefully vetting each individual to ensure their loyalty and discretion. The group grew in size and capability, quietly amassing an arsenal of weapons and equipment that would rival the best-equipped military forces in the known galaxy. Meanwhile, the human population remained in a state of heightened tension, their outrage simmering just beneath the surface. They knew that their government was working tirelessly to find a diplomatic solution, but the clock was ticking, and the call for vengeance grew ever louder. It was only a matter of time before the fury of humanity would be unleashed upon the Galactic Council, a reckoning that would shake the very foundations of the galactic order. As the diplomatic efforts between the human governments and the Galactic Council reached a stalemate, the clandestine Avengers group quietly continued their meticulous preparations. They knew that the time for action was drawing near, and they were determined to ensure that humanity's vengeance would be swift, decisive, and devastating. Led by the experienced Sergeant Major Lucas Farrell, the Avengers had assembled a diverse team of individuals, each with their own unique set of skills and expertise. From former Special Forces operatives to brilliant scientific minds, the group was a formidable force, united by their unwavering commitment to protecting the children affected by the renewal initiative. In the shadowy confines of their hidden bases, the Avengers worked tirelessly, acquiring the latest in human technology and weaponry. They scoured the black markets and clandestine networks, procuring cutting-edge equipment that would give them an edge against the Galactic Council's formidable forces. One of the key figures in the Avengers' arsenal was Dr. Amelia Goldstein, a renowned physicist and engineer. Goldstein had been tasked with reverse engineering the advanced alien technology captured from the Citadel, a feat that would require her team to push the boundaries of human science and innovation. "We need to level the playing field," Goldstein said, her brow furrowed in concentration as she pored over schematics and data. "The Galactic Council has decades, if not centuries, of technological advancement over us. If we're going to take them down, we'll need to match their capabilities, and then some." Under Goldstein's guidance, the Avengers workshops hummed with activity, as specialized teams worked tirelessly to develop cutting-edge weapons, stealth systems, and even experimental propulsion technologies. The fruits of their labor would soon become the backbone of the Avengers' arsenal, a testament to the ingenuity and determination of the human spirit. Alongside the technological advancements, the Avengers also carefully recruited and trained a small but elite force of operatives. These individuals, handpicked from the ranks of the military, intelligence agencies, and specialized law enforcement units, underwent rigorous physical and mental conditioning, honing their skills to near perfection. "We're not just fighting for justice," Farrell declared during one of the training sessions. "We're fighting for the children who have been torn from their families, the innocent lives that have been destroyed by the Galactic Council's greed and cruelty. This is a battle for the very soul of humanity, and we cannot afford to fail." The Avengers operatives, inspired by Farrell's words, pushed themselves to the limit, mastering a diverse array of combat techniques, infiltration tactics, and covert operations. They knew that the success of their mission would depend on their ability to strike swiftly, efficiently, and with absolute precision. As the days turned into weeks, the Avengers' preparations reached a fever pitch. The group had established a network of safe houses, supply caches, and communication channels that spanned the human colonies and even extended into the fringes of Galactic Council territory. With every passing day, the Avengers grew more confident in their ability to take the fight to the Galactic Council. They knew that the stakes were high, that the fate of countless children hung in the balance. But they were determined, united in their cause, and ready to unleash humanity's righteous fury upon their unsuspecting adversaries. The time for action had arrived, and the Avengers were poised to strike. The Avengers had spent months meticulously planning their first strike against the Galactic Council, and the time had finally come to put their preparations into action. Sergeant Major Lucas Farrell, the group's seasoned leader, knew that this moment would be a pivotal one, not just for the Avengers, but for the future of humanity's relationship with the Alien Alliance. Gathered in a secure command center deep within a hidden base on one of humanity's remote colonies, Farrell and his team pored over the latest intelligence reports, mapping out their target and finalizing the mission details. The Renewal Initiative's primary processing facility is located on the Citadel's outskirts, Farrell explained, his voice firm and authoritative. "According to our sources, this is where the children are held before being subjected to the experiments and conditioning. If we strike here, we can potentially rescue dozens, if not hundreds, of innocent lives." The other Avengers nodded in agreement, their expressions grim but determined. They knew the risks involved, but their commitment to the cause outweighed any personal concerns. "We'll need to move quickly and with surgical precision," Farrell continued. "Our window of opportunity will be narrow, and the Galactic Council's security forces will be on high alert. Dr. Goldstein, are the prototype stealth systems ready?" Amelia Goldstein, the team's resident genius, stepped forward, a gleam of pride in her eyes. "The stealth systems are fully operational and tested. Our operatives will be able to infiltrate the facility undetected, and the specialized weaponry should give us a significant tactical advantage." Farrell nodded, his lips pressed into a thin line. "Excellent. Then let's get to work. This is humanity's chance to show the Galactic Council that we will not stand idly by while they commit these atrocities. Tonight, we strike back." Within hours, the Avengers strike team, clad in sleek, high-tech suits and wielding specialized weapons, silently infiltrated the Renewal Initiative's processing facility. Guided by the intel gathered during their months of preparation, they moved swiftly and stealthily, avoiding detection by the Citadel's security systems. As they approached the holding cells where the children were being kept, the Avengers were met with a horrific sight. Rows of young, terrified faces stared back at them, their eyes pleading for salvation. The team's resolve hardened, and with precision and efficiency, they systematically unlocked the cells, ushering the children to safety. But their mission was not yet complete. Farrell's team had also identified the facility's central command hub, where the Renewal Initiative's scientists and administrators coordinated their twisted experiments. With a nod from their leader, the Avengers struck, their advanced weaponry cutting through the security forces with devastating accuracy. The chaos that erupted was deafening. Alarms blared, and panic shouts echoed through the corridors as the Galactic Council's personnel scrambled to respond to the unexpected attack. But the Avengers, their movements enhanced by the stealth systems and their reactions honed by rigorous training, remained one step ahead of their foes. Within minutes, the command hub lay in ruins, the Renewal Initiative's central systems crippled by a combination of strategic strikes and targeted electromagnetic pulses. The Avengers had struck a significant blow against the Galactic Council's horrific program, rescuing hundreds of children and dealing a devastating setback to their operations. As the strike team made their way to the extraction point, Farrell couldn't help but feel a sense of grim satisfaction. This was only the beginning, he knew. The Galactic Council would not take this attack lightly, and the Avengers would soon find themselves embroiled in a conflict that would test the very limits of humanity's resolve. But in that moment, Farrell was filled with a renewed sense of purpose. They had taken the first step towards avenging the children, and he knew that his team, and the human race as a whole, were more than ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Avengers' daring raid on the Renewal Initiative's processing facility had sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council, and the reverberations were felt across the vast expanse of the galaxy. The human strike team's success in rescuing hundreds of children and crippling the facility's operations had exposed the Council's dark secrets, shattering the veneer of its benevolent facade. In the grand chambers of the Citadel, the alien delegates convened in a frenzied emergency session, their faces etched with a mixture of outrage and fear. The revelation of the Renewal Initiative's atrocities had already sparked widespread condemnation and calls for reform, and now this brazen attack had only served to further erode the Council's credibility and authority. "This is an unacceptable breach of our security," bellowed Councillor Triumph, a towering insectoid representative. "How could a mere human strike team infiltrate our most secure facility with such ease? We must respond with the full force of the Galactic Council's might." Other delegates echoed Triumph's sentiments, their demands for retaliation growing increasingly vocal and uncompromising. But amid the chaos, a small group of more measured voices urged caution, recognizing the potentially disastrous consequences of an all-out confrontation with the humans. "We must tread carefully," warned Councillor Astra, a humanoid diplomat whose world had long been a member of the Galactic Council. "The humans have demonstrated a resolve and capability that we did not anticipate. Any hasty action could provoke a devastating response that none of us are prepared to face." Despite the dissenting voices, the majority of the Council ultimately agreed on a course of action, a massive manhunt to track down and eliminate the Avengers, the human group responsible for the raid. Mobilizing the full resources of the Galactic Council's vast military and intelligence networks, the search began, with a sweeping dragnet that spanned the human colonies and the fringes of Council-controlled space. Back on Earth, news of the Avengers' successful operation had ignited a renewed sense of pride and determination within the human population. The public, once outraged by the Renewal Initiative's abuses, now rallied behind the small but courageous group of individuals who had taken the fight to the Galactic Council. Volunteers and resources began pouring in from across the human colonies as people from all walks of life stepped forward to support the Avengers' cause. Engineers offered their expertise in advanced technology, while former military personnel volunteered their skills and experience in covert operations. "This is our chance to show the Galactic Council that we will not be pushed around," declared President Kenji Tanaka during a televised address. "The Avengers have taken the first step, and now it is our duty as a people to stand with them and ensure that justice is served." Tanaka's words resonated with the human populace, igniting a sense of unity and purpose that had not been seen since the early days of humanity's space exploration. Across the solar system, cells of Avengers supporters began to emerge, forming a vast network of safe houses, supply lines, and intelligence-gathering operations. As the Galactic Council's forces scoured the galaxy in search of the elusive Avengers, they found themselves increasingly stymied by the resilience and resourcefulness of their human adversaries. The Avengers, bolstered by the support of the human population, proved to be a slippery and adaptable foe, evading capture and continuing to strike at the Council's vulnerable points. The conflict had escalated, and both sides knew that the stakes were higher than ever. The Galactic Council, once the unquestioned power in the galaxy, now found itself facing a determined and united human force, one that was willing to go to any length to protect its children and exact vengeance upon their oppressors. The stage was set for an epic showdown, a clash that would test the limits of both human and alien resolve. As the Galactic Council's relentless search for the Avengers continued, a groundswell of support for the human resistance movement began to emerge across the solar system. The news of the Avengers' daring raid and the Council's atrocities against children had ignited a flame of outrage and determination within the human population, and they were now ready to take action. In the bustling city of New Tokyo, a crowd gathered in the central plaza, their faces etched with a mix of anger and resolve. At the forefront of the gathering stood Sofia Hernandez, the mother whose impassioned plea had become a rallying cry for the human resistance. "We will not stand idly by while the Galactic Council terrorizes our children," Hernandez shouted, her voice carrying across the square. "The Avengers have shown us the way, and now it is our turn to support them, to ensure that justice is served." The crowd erupted in thunderous applause, their fists raised in a show of solidarity. Around the world, similar scenes played out as people from all walks of life, scientists, engineers, military veterans, and everyday citizens, came together to support the Avengers' cause. "We have the resources, the skills, and the determination to take the fight to the Galactic Council," declared Hernandez, her eyes shining with conviction. "Together, we can overwhelm them, cripple their operations, and protect our children from their cruel grip." The people roared their agreement, their chants echoing through the streets. Word of the growing resistance movement spread like wildfire, igniting a sense of unity and purpose that had not been seen in the human colonies for generations. In the shadows, the Avengers monitored the unfolding events with a mixture of relief and trepidation. They had known that their first strike would capture the imagination of the human population, but the scale and fervor of the response exceeded even their expectations. "This is both a blessing and a curse," Sergeant Major Farrell mused, his brow furrowed in contemplation. "The outpouring of support will bolster our capabilities, but it also means that the Galactic Council will inevitably intensify their efforts to crush us." Nonetheless, Farrell and his team were determined to harness the energy and resources of the human resistance. They began reaching out to the disparate cells and support networks, coordinating their efforts and establishing a centralized command structure that would allow them to operate more effectively. "We need to ensure that every human colony, every community, is prepared to assist us," Farrell told his lieutenants. "The Galactic Council will stop at nothing to hunt us down, and we need to be ready to evade their pursuit and strike back at every turn." With renewed vigor, the Avengers set to work, leveraging the skills and expertise of the volunteers who had answered the call. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to improve the group's technology and equipment, while former military personnel trained the growing ranks of Avengers operatives in advanced combat tactics and covert operations. The human resistance movement had become a powerful force to be reckoned with, and the Galactic Council, still reeling from the Avengers' initial strike, knew that they faced a formidable adversary. The stage was set for an escalating conflict, one that would test the limits of both human and alien resolve. As the Avengers prepared for their next move, they knew that the fate of countless children hung in the balance. They were determined to succeed, for the sake of their own species and for the innocent victims of the Renewal Initiative. The time for vengeance had arrived, and the humans were ready to face the Galactic Council head-on. As the Galactic Council's relentless hunt for the Avengers continued, the human resistance movement began to coalesce into a formidable force, one that would soon turn the tide of the conflict. Buoyed by the outpouring of support from the colonies and the influx of resources, the Avengers had been able to expand their operations, striking targets across the Council's territory, with ever-increasing frequency and impact. Led by the seasoned Sergeant Major Lucas Farrell, the Avengers' strike teams had become experts in evading the Council's forces, utilizing advanced stealth technologies, and employing tactics that maximized the element of surprise. Each successful mission served to further erode the Council's confidence and sow seeds of fear and uncertainty within its ranks. The humans are proving to be a far more tenacious adversary than we anticipated, Councillor Treoth growled during a tense meeting in the Citadel's inner chambers. Their strikes have crippled our operations, disrupted our supply lines, and even compromised some of our most secure facilities. We must take drastic action to curb this threat. But the Council's attempts to regain the upper hand had been consistently thwarted by the Avengers' resourcefulness and the unwavering support of the human population. As the conflict escalated, the human resistance movement began to evolve, becoming an increasingly coordinated and sophisticated network that provided the Avengers with valuable intelligence, logistical support, and even specialized technology. The humans have tapped into something powerful, a sense of unity and purpose that we have never seen before, Councillor Astra observed, her voice laced with a hint of respect. Their determination to protect their children is fueling a fire within them that we may not be able to extinguish. Amidst the growing chaos, the Avengers launched a series of coordinated large-scale attacks against the Galactic Council's most vulnerable targets. Using their advanced technology and superior tactics, the human strike teams systematically dismantled the Council's defenses, crippling its ability to respond effectively. In one particularly daring operation, the Avengers infiltrated a heavily guarded Council facility, where the Renewal Initiative's top scientists and administrators were overseeing the final stages of their twisted experiments. The strike team, led by Sergeant Major Farrell, swept through the compound with precision and ruthlessness, rescuing dozens of children and delivering a devastating blow to the initiative's infrastructure. As the dust settled, the Avengers operatives made their way back to their extraction point, their weapons still smoking and their faces etched with a mix of triumph and grim determination. "This is just the beginning," Farrell declared, his voice carrying a weight that belied his years of experience. "The Galactic Council has had its chance to right its wrongs, and they have failed. Now, it is time for us to take the fight to them, to show them the true might of the human spirit." The Avengers' success, coupled with the growing support of the human population, began to shift the balance of power in the conflict. The Galactic Council, once the unquestioned masters of the galaxy, now found itself facing a formidable and increasingly coordinated adversary that was unwilling to back down. Panic and desperation began to creep into the Council's ranks as its members struggled to devise a coherent strategy to counter the human resistance. The very foundations of the Galactic Council's authority were being shaken, and the realization that their reign of power might be coming to an end sent shockwaves through the alien alliance. As the conflict continued to escalate, the human spirit burned ever brighter, fueled by a righteous fury that would not be extinguished. The Avengers, their ranks swelling with the support of the colonies, prepared to deliver the final blow, determined to bring the Galactic Council to its knees and secure justice for the innocent children who had suffered under its cruel and oppressive rule. As the Avengers and the human resistance movement continued to strike devastating blows against the Galactic Council's operations, the Alien Alliance knew that it could no longer afford to be reactive. The time had come for a decisive counteroffensive, one that would crush the human insurgency and reassert the Council's dominance over the galaxy. Mobilizing the full might of its vast military forces, the Galactic Council launched a massive campaign to hunt down and eliminate the Avengers once and for all. Fleets of heavily armed warships descended upon the human colonies, their crews prepared to scour every inch of the solar system in search of the elusive human strike teams. "We will not be intimidated by these upstart humans," declared Councillor Triumph, his voice booming with righteous fury. "They have dared to challenge the authority of the Galactic Council, and for that, they will pay the ultimate price." But the Avengers, under the leadership of Sergeant Major Lucas Farrell, were not about to be cowed by the Council's show of force. They had spent months meticulously planning and preparing for this very moment, and they were determined to meet the Galactic Council's onslaught head-on. Amidst the chaos and upheaval, the Avengers operatives scattered across the human colonies, rallying the resistance movement and coordinating a series of diversionary attacks to keep the Council's forces off balance. Meanwhile, Farrell and a small, elite team slipped through the blockades, making their way to a secret rendezvous point deep within the asteroid belt. There, they were joined by Dr. Amelia Goldstein and her team of scientific specialists, who had been tasked with the development of a revolutionary new weapon, a device capable of disrupting the advanced technology that underpinned the Galactic Council's military might. "This is our best chance to turn the tide," Goldstein said, her eyes alight with determination. "If we can neutralize the Council's technological advantage, we'll be able to even the playing field and give our forces a fighting chance." As the battle raged across the solar system, the Avengers' elite strike team launched their daring assault, infiltrating the Galactic Council's flagship and making their way towards the heart of the alien vessel. The Council's security forces, caught off guard by the ferocity and precision of the human attack, struggled to mount an effective defense. With the Avengers' advanced weaponry and Goldstein's disruptive device, the human operatives cut a swath through the alien troops, slowly but surely making their way towards the bridge. The fate of the entire conflict hung in the balance, and the Avengers knew that failure was not an option. In the grand chambers of the Citadel, the Galactic Council's delegates watched in a mixture of horror and disbelief as the battle unfolded. Councillor Astra, her face etched with a rare expression of fear, turned to her colleagues, her voice trembling. "We have underestimated the humans. They are willing to sacrifice everything to protect their children, and now they have brought the fight directly to us. If we do not act soon, we may lose everything." The other delegates, their confidence shaken, could only nod in grim agreement. The Galactic Council had reached a pivotal moment, one that would test the very foundations of its power and authority. Back on the flagship, the Avengers' strike team fought with a ferocity born of righteous fury, their determination fueled by the memory of the children they had sworn to protect. As they drew closer to the bridge, the very fabric of the alien vessel began to distort and warp, the effects of Goldstein's disruptive device taking hold. The Galactic Council's forces found themselves increasingly unable to coordinate their defenses, their advanced technology rendered useless in the face of the human onslaught. Panic and chaos reigned supreme, and the Avengers pressed their advantage, inching ever closer to the final confrontation. In that moment, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, as humanity's vengeance collided with the Galactic Council's desperate struggle to maintain its grip on power. The outcome of this epic battle would shake the course of history, and the Avengers were determined to emerge victorious, no matter the cost. As the battle raged on the Galactic Council's flagship, the rest of the human colonies erupted into a frenzy of activity. Across the solar system, the resistance movement had launched a series of coordinated attacks, drawing the attention and resources of the Council's forces away from the Avengers' elite strike team. In the chaos, the human operatives, led by Sergeant Major Lucas Farrell, pushed forward, their advance bolstered by the disruptive effects of Dr. Amelia Goldstein's revolutionary device. One by one, the Galactic Council's security forces fell, their advanced technology rendered useless in the face of the human onslaught. Finally, the Avengers reached the bridge of the flagship, where the Council's highest-ranking delegates huddled in a desperate attempt to regain control of the situation. But their panic and disarray were evident, and the human strike team swiftly overwhelmed them, taking the bridge and securing a decisive victory. As the dust settled, Farrell and his team surveyed the scene, their faces etched with a mixture of relief and grim determination. They had come so far, risked everything, and now they stood on the verge of achieving the unthinkable, the defeat of the mighty Galactic Council. "This is only the beginning," Farrell declared, his voice carrying a weight that belied his years of experience. "The Galactic Council has been brought to its knees, and now we must ensure that the innocent victims of their atrocities receive the justice they deserve." Across the solar system, the news of the Avengers' triumph spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of jubilation and pride among the human population. Crowds gathered in the streets, cheering and celebrating the remarkable feat of their fellow citizens who had dared to stand up to the oppressive alien alliance. President Kenji Tanaka, his face beaming with pride, addressed the nation, his words resonating with the people. "Today, we have shown the galaxy that humanity will not be silenced, that we will not stand idly by in the face of injustice. The Avengers have delivered a message that will echo through the ages, that we are a force to be reckoned with, a people driven by a fierce determination to protect our own and to right the wrongs perpetrated against us." The Galactic Council, once the unquestioned power in the galaxy, now found itself in a state of disarray. Its delegates, shaken by the human resistance's triumph, convened in a frantic attempt to salvage what remained of their authority. "This cannot be allowed to stand," Councillor Trioth bellowed, his mandibles clicking in agitation. "The humans have dared to challenge us, to humiliate us in the face of our own people. We must retaliate with all the might at our disposal." But Councillor Astra, her once resolute demeanor now tinged with uncertainty, raised a hand to silence her colleague. "We cannot afford to underestimate the humans again," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Their determination, their resolve, has shaken the very foundations of our power. If we respond with violence, we risk inciting a war that may spell the end of the Galactic Council as we know it." The other delegates, sensing the shift in the balance of power, grew silent, their expressions reflecting the growing realization that their dominance was no longer assured. The Avengers had delivered a blow that would echo through the ages, and the Galactic Council would never be the same. As for the human resistance, their victory was not without a cost. Many brave souls had fallen in the fight to protect the innocent children and to deliver justice against the Galactic Council's atrocities. But their sacrifice would not be in vain, for their actions had ignited a spark that would burn brightly in the hearts of humanity forevermore. The Avengers, their ranks swelling with the admiration and support of the human colonies, knew that their work was far from over. The Galactic Council would not give up its power without a fight, and the humans would need to remain vigilant, ready to defend their children and their way of life against any future threats. But in that moment, as they gazed out at the stars, the Avengers felt a sense of pride and purpose that transcended the boundaries of their own species. They had shown the galaxy that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, a people driven by a fierce determination to protect the innocent and to stand up against oppression, no matter the cost. And in the years to come, the legacy of the Avengers' triumph would inspire generations of humans to come, who would carry on the fight for justice and the unwavering belief that the human spirit could not be broken.